I always thought my sister was my best friend. You know, someone who would stand by me through thick and thin. But little did I know, she was standing by my husband, in our bed. Stay with me because how I exposed them at our family dinner is something I'll never forget, and neither will they.
So, let me take you back a little.
My name is Sophie, I'm 32, and during what was supposed to be my birthday dinner, my sister dropped the bombshell that she was pregnant, with my husband's child. Before I unveil the moment when a single truth unraveled their entire existence, share with me where you're tuning in from in the comments. They believed they held the reins of power. In the heart of the exquisite ivory room, the finest restaurant I had ever set foot in, I stood, the weight of my friends' and family's gaze heavy upon me. My sister Nicole pressed her hand against her small bump, a gesture filled with unspoken emotions. My husband Matt rested his hand on her shoulder, exuding an air of smug solidarity that sent a chill down my spine. We are bound together as a family now. Nicole's sneer cut through the air, her words crafted to pierce my very soul. She anticipated my downfall, my tears, the chaos that would ensue. That was my destiny all along. I was the one consumed by emotion, the delicate soul. Matt's gaze bore into me, a mask of feigned sympathy he had honed to perfection over the years. The entire room was steeped in silence, each heartbeat echoing as they braced for the inevitable eruption. Yet, it remained absent. I remained utterly silent. I savored a deliberate sip of my Pinot Noir, allowing the silence to linger, thickening the air with an intensity that weighed heavily on everyone but me. Then I lifted my glass, the weight of the moment heavy in the air.
A fin smile flickered across my lips, hinting at something deeper beneath the surface.
They believed this was their moment to shine. Little did they know, the script was my creation. In my formative years, I found myself burdened with the weight of responsibility. Nicole was the shining star, the one everyone admired. Desperate for the $1,000 princess dress for prom, my parents sacrificed a savings bond, their hopes entwined with her dreams. In a moment of desperation for guidance with a challenging textbook in my college honors class, I was met not with support, but with a stern lecture about the necessity of securing a part-time job. I was the one who mended the fractures, the unwavering presence amidst chaos, yet my steadfastness became the very reason I was overlooked and unappreciated. They misjudged my steadiness as indifference, my silence as frailty. That was the moment everything began to unravel. 6 weeks before that fateful birthday dinner, the ground vanished beneath my feet. It was a fateful Tuesday. As I reached for the shared family iPad, intending to find a recipe, my eyes were suddenly drawn to an email notification that flickered ominously on the screen. It came from Nicole, directed at Matt. The subject line held a weighty promise, our plan. A chill coursed through my veins. Deep down, I was aware that I should resist the urge to glance. It was as if I were teetering on the brink of a precipice. Yet, I found myself compelled to do it. I slowly opened it, my heart racing with anticipation. Everything was laid bare. The affair, exposed in excruciating detail. Yet it was the final words of the email that twisted my stomach into knots. A scheme to reveal the pregnancy during my birthday dinner, a moment charged with anticipation. To wield public humiliation as a weapon, compelling me into a swift, silent divorce that would strip me of everything. Nicole wrote, "She'll be shattered, unable to muster the strength to resist." She remained silent, never raising her voice in defiance. The iPad slipped from my grasp, plummeting to the ground.
The sound of the tile floor shattering reverberated through me, mirroring the fracture in my own heart.
I staggered into the bathroom, slamming the door shut behind me and pressing my back against it, desperate to keep the chaos of the world at bay. I held back the scream that threatened to escape.
Held back the tears.
I opened my mouth, releasing a silent, ragged gasp as the life I believed I possessed disintegrated before my very eyes. That was the sole instance of vulnerability I permitted myself to experience.
A solitaris crime echo in the silence.
Then, the grief crystallized into a chilling, piercing edge. It solidified into a seething fury. With trembling hands, I reached for my phone and dialed my best friend, Sarah, my heart racing with anticipation. "Sarah," I declared, my voice unwavering. "It has finally come to pass."
What is happening?
"Absolutely not."
Sophie. Where are you hiding?
Her voice trembled, thick with urgency and fear. In the confines of my home, I uttered those words. But I refused to let the tears fall. "I'm ready to set it all ablaze."
My mind raced.
Frantically piecing together fragments I had never noticed before. The affair was merely a manifestation of deeper turmoil. The disease was the deception. And the most profound deception had begun more than a year prior. For years, we had been yearning for a baby, each passing moment steeped in hope and heartache. It was the one thing I craved above all else. At long last, after what felt like an eternity of desperate pleas, Matt finally relented and agreed to get tested. He ventured alone to the Northwood Clinic, a decision that weighed heavily on his heart. He returned home that night, ready to deliver a performance that would leave everyone breathless. He embraced me as tears streamed down my face, his fingers gently weaving through my hair, whispering reassurances that it wasn't my fault. "The doctor said it's not me, Em," he'd whispered, his voice heavy with insincerity. "He insisted that he was fine. It has to be you." He allowed me to shoulder that weight for an entire year. He allowed me to think I was shattered. That was a cruelty that shattered my very understanding. Yet in this moment, the weight of his deception loomed ominously, threatening to unravel everything he had built. "Sarah," days later, I demanded over the phone, "I need the true results from Northwood Clinic." A year has passed since that moment. That's safeguarded by HIPAA. "It's a fortress," she whispered, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and determination. Sarah was a paralegal, acutely aware of the rules that governed her world. "I'm his wife," I declared, my voice sharp and unyielding. "A key must exist to unlock that impenetrable fortress." There was a moment, heavy with unspoken words. After 2 grueling weeks filled with relentless phone calls, the discovery of signed consent forms buried in his old files, and a dash of cunning social engineering, we finally achieved our goal. An email suddenly appeared in my inbox, its PDF attachment looming ominously. My hand trembled violently, making it nearly impossible to click the mouse. The report finally loaded, revealing the weight of its contents. I hurriedly skimmed through the dense medical jargon, my heart racing as I sought the summary at the bottom. The patient displays a complete absence of sperm motility.
Diagnosis, azoospermia. Cold and leafless.
The word lingered ominously on the screen, heavy with unspoken weight. He was a master of deception. He was a terrifying beast. The deception was so flawless, so absolute, it left me questioning, what other truths had he twisted in the shadows? That thought consumed every corner of my mind. If he could deceive about that, what else was he capable of fabricating? My thoughts spiraled back to that fateful day when he claimed to have covered the cost of those extravagant tests. It cost thousands, he had said, his voice heavy with unspoken weight. Expert consultations that delve deep into the complexities of your needs. I retrieved our joint bank statements from that fateful month. The payment to Northwood Clinic never materialized.
Not a single dime.
Yet, a cash withdrawal occurred.
A colossal one. $22,000.
A tight knot formed in my stomach. This had transcended mere infidelity. The very next day, I made the decision to hire a private investigator. An unassuming, older man whose appearance suggested a librarian rather than a detective, yet beneath that calm exterior lay a world of secrets waiting to be uncovered. I am certain he is.
Follow the money, and uncover the truth that lies beneath the surface.
Uncover the truth behind the disappearance of that 20,000, and investigate any other discrepancies that linger in the shadows. He arrived 2 weeks later, the weight of anticipation hanging heavily in the air. It was far more devastating than I ever could have envisioned. The private investigator had uncovered the trail of money leading straight to a shadowy shell account that Matt had meticulously established. From that moment on, payments to Nicole flowed relentlessly. For her rent, her car, her designer bags, each a weighty reminder of the life she clings to, teetering on the edge of uncertainty. Yet, it was the last move that would seal their fate. A solitary transfer of $200,000 from Matt's corporate expense account, tainted funds, into the hands of a title company. It represented the crucial first step towards a new beginning, a promise of stability and hope hanging in the balance. A house that now bore my mother's name, a silent testament to the weight of memories and unspoken stories within its walls. It was not a betrayal, but a shattering revelation that pierced the heart.
A web of de scellés hidden beneath the surface.
My husband, my sister, and my mother, each one a dagger in my heart. And within my purse, I clutched the 2 items that would unravel everything, sending it all spiraling into chaos. The medical report lay ominously on the table, accompanied by the PI's financial report, both heavy with implications. And that leads us back to the dinner, where everything changed. The air in the restaurant grew heavy with an unbearable stillness following Nicole's shocking announcement. I rose to my feet, gripping my wine glass tightly. To family, I declared, my voice resonating with a sharpness that caught even me off guard. And to the raw, unyielding truth. With trembling hands, I delved into my purse, extracting a solitary creased piece of paper that seemed to pulse with unspoken secrets. I pushed it across the gleaming mahogany table towards Matt, the air thick with unspoken words. He stared at it, a storm of confusion swirling within him. "What is this?" he asked, his voice laced with unease. From the previous year. I witnessed the life fade from his expression. In that fleeting moment, realization struck him like a thunderbolt. Nicole's gaze flickered between his face and mine, her triumphant smirk wavering, uncertainty creeping in. "The most devastating betrayal wasn't the fact that you slept with my sister, Matt," I said, my voice cutting through the air like a blade. "All along, it was you, feigning the role of a father." A wave of shock swept through the room, leaving an electric silence in its wake.
Nicolas' face, once radiant with triumph, twisted into a visage of sheer terror.
Her eyes flickered to Matt, then fell to her own stomach, the weight of my words hitting her like a tidal wave.
Matt's voice trembled, "You can't do this."
But I had so much more to say. I fixed my eyes on my mother, her expression frozen in shock, mouth hanging open in disbelief. "And Mum," I said, my voice lowering into a chilling whisper, laced with an unsettling intensity. "That house is breathtaking." Yet, as Matt's company delves deeper into the shadows of their fraud investigation surrounding the vanishing $200,000, the inevitable reckoning looms closer, and they will demand restitution. That was the moment. The second blow lands with a devastating force.
Turmoil unleashed.
Matt surged forward, his expression twisted in a chaotic blend of fury and desperation. "You witch!" he screamed, his voice cracking with fury. In an instant, the restaurant security descended upon him, 2 imposing figures seizing him from the table as he writhed and shouted in desperation. The final chapter of my marriage unfolds. A devastating spectacle, rife with shame and inevitability. Amidst the turmoil, with my mother's anguished cries piercing the air and Nicole frozen in a haunting silence, I steeled myself and reached for my purse. Sarah stood close, her hand pressing firmly against my back, a silent vow of protection in the charged air between us. I began to turn away, each step heavy with unspoken words and unresolved feelings. Nicole, suddenly breaking free from her daze, seized my arm with a fierce grip. Her grip tightened with a frantic urgency. "Sophie, please," she gasped, her voice trembling with desperation. I glanced at her trembling hand gripping my arm, then met her wide, fearful gaze. I wrenched my arm away. My last words to her were not filled with rage. They were irrevocably final. "I'd save your please," I said, my voice devoid of any warmth. "And I would reach out to Nick. He must be told that he is about to become a father." As I turned and stepped out of that restaurant with Sarah, a heavy silence enveloped us, the weight of unspoken words lingering in the air. The heavy oak door slammed shut behind me, drowning out the echoes of the life I was desperately trying to escape. After what felt like an eternity, I finally found a moment to breathe. The following 6 months unfolded in a chaotic whirlwind of lawyers and endless paperwork, each moment heavy with uncertainty. Yet, it was a burn that left no trace. Here I am, immersed in the world of clay, in a pottery studio tucked away in an unfamiliar part of the city. Half a year has passed. My hands are drenched in wet clay, and a wild laughter escapes me. A genuine, heartfelt laugh that resonates deeply. Sarah is here with me, struggling in vain to find balance as she wrestles with a stubborn lump of clay on her wheel. "So the divorce is truly final?" she inquires, a piece of clay flying through the air towards me.
Off Tuesday, I déclarait, a smile playing on my lips.
His company reached a resolution. With striking elegance. It appears they are desperate to keep their secrets hidden, unwilling to let their dirty laundry be exposed in the glaring light of a public court case. My phone vibrates ominously on the table beside me. I wipe my hands, a surge of anticipation coursing through me as I reach for it. A breaking news alert has just come in from a local station. In a shocking turn of events, former finance executive Matt Peterson has been sentenced to 5 years behind bars for embezzlement. A blurred image captures the moment he is escorted away, wrists bound in cold metal cuffs.
I fix my gaze upon it, the weight of the moment stretching endlessly.
Before me, I feel an overwhelming void.
Only despair, only emptiness. Silence en heavy in the air.
He's a fleeting moment in a story I've long since closed, a whisper of what once was. I place the phone face down on the table, the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air, before turning back to my pottery wheel, where the clay awaited my touch. With a determined flick of my wrist, I turn to Sarah, the wheel whirling once more, the air thick with anticipation. What was our last point of connection? In my new flat, there lies a small balcony, a space that holds untold potential and whispers of quiet moments yet to come.
It looms over the lake, casting an ominous shadow.
On it, I have a solitary orchid, a delicate treasure I salvaged from the depths of the clearance rack at a garden store. Though it was battered and its flowers had vanished, I could still sense the flicker of life within it. I've been desperately trying to revive it, pouring every ounce of care into its fragile state.
This morning, I caught sight of a new bud, a fragile promise of life amid the stillness of dawn.
For what felt like an eternity, I believed I was the shattered one, the one forever trapped in a cycle of stagnation. Yet, I was not shattered. I found myself rooted in a garden that was never meant for me. I deeply appreciate each of you for taking the time to hear my story. The journey to healing has been arduous, and I find myself still navigating the depths of my own struggles. I want to pose a question to you all. Have you ever experienced a moment that seemed like a final chapter, only to reveal itself as the dawn of something entirely new? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If my story struck a chord within you, I would deeply appreciate it if you could give this video a like and subscribe for more tales that tug at the heartstrings. It truly makes a significant difference for the channel.
Until we meet again.